Thank you, Semi. Thank you very much. And I think several of the points that are being raised, the questions that are being raised, we're going to move to our final presentation. Then it'd be really good to carry on some of this conversation about the questions about how we are able in our different positions and different capacities to provide whatever support is needed and close this gap really between the guidance and the practice. And in introducing Najma Ali, who is Program Assistant on Human Rights and Refugees at the Quake United Nations Office, and who prepared this report, I was reflecting on Semi mentioned that about a year ago, Connection EV and WRI held a webinar for International Conscientious Objectors Day that was focused on CO and asylum. And I was very glad to be a part of that. And I was there to give a presentation about UNHCR's guidelines on cases of those refugee claims from those related to military service. And I think it was really interesting to be part of that discussion and to be reminded, as we always are, we don't sit in Geneva and assume that once something comes out in a UN document, it happens automatically in the world. We're not as naive as that. But to really think about this gap that there is between what is said in those guidelines and what's actually happening for individuals in the way that has already been talked about on this webinar. And so it was kind of inspired by that conversation that that Najma did the work on this report. And I will hand over to her now to give that presentation, but then would really love to come back to some of this conversation about the information sharing, the awareness raising, ensuring that people understand who are in positions, decision-making positions, both that conscientious objection, there is a right to conscientious objection in international law, and that persecution flowing from denial of that right should be recognized as a grounds for being granted asylum. But I will stop there and hand over to Najma. Najma.
Thank you for the introduction, Laurel. I want to apologize in advance for any background noise during this presentation. I live in a quite loud area. So in terms of the publication, so last month on International Conscientious Objectors Day, we published our most recent report on conscientious objection to military service and national refugee status determination procedures. So CUNA has been working and campaigning on the issue of conscientious objection to military service for over 60 years. And as the other speakers have drawn on, there are several rights implicated for conscientious objectors, including the right to seek asylum. Laurel and Rudy have mentioned the UNHCR guidelines for international protection, which came out in 2013, and CUNA played a significant role in advocating for this and in the development of this. So we sought to investigate the extent to which states utilize this guidance, whether there is existing guidance in place nationally, and the extent to which it aligns with UNHCR guidelines. And through kind of reaching out to our contacts and through desk-based research, we were able to find guidance from Canada, Germany, the Netherlands, Sweden, and the United Kingdom. Our main findings from this research can be split into 4 themes. So one theme is outdated national guidance, the limited scope of guidance, non-recognition of prosecution as persecution, and the use of specific country examples. So if we take the example of outdated national guidance, some of the guidance we looked at actually predates UNHCR guidance and provides an inaccurate framing of asylum for conscientious objectors. In addition, in terms of the limited scope of guidance, we found that some states only apply international protection to people who object during conflict and not in peacetime, which is not in line with UNHCR guidelines. Some of our kind of recommendations from this report include signposting decision makers to UNHCR guidelines in situations where this guidance doesn't exist nationally. for states to run training sessions and information sessions on the guidelines, and to consult with conscientious objectors in the development of future guidance. In terms of kind of next steps, we see this as an ongoing kind of piece of work. We are keen to speak with UNHCR to see whether they can follow up on states' implementation on this guidance. We are also keen to access further guidance. So if anyone here has access to country guidance that we haven't already looked at, then we would love to get in touch and see if this is something that we can work on. In some places, the guidance is based on case law, including on cases that predate the full recognition on the right to conscientious objection to military service by the European Court of Human Rights and the Human Rights Committee. We would be interested to see these precedents challenged through strategic litigation, and in light of these legal developments, we would be interested to support suitable cases that are identified. So kind of in summary, we're really pleased to have published this report and are excited about the next steps and the follow-up work that can arise from it. And we'd really be very happy to hear about any ideas and recommendations that anyone has on next steps as part of the Q&A. Thank you.